Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday, guys. Happy Tuesday morning. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. So, guys, I'm going to jump right in. I was having a discussion with a young lady this morning who's really going through it. She's really going through it. It's just a lot of moving parts. She doesn't know if she's hearing from God correctly. She's afraid to take the step because she feels like she's making a mistake. She thinks she hears confirmation, and then she gets she thinks she hears revelation, and then she gets confirmation from others that's not in alignment to revelation. Then she's even more confused. She just doesn't feel like there's fruit that she can see if she was to make this move. She's going through it. She's going through it. And she's also having a difficult time because this opportunity or this move that she believes God is asking her to do will require her to leave some people as well as things behind, that comfort level. So let's talk. Okay, so I'm going to give some of my own personal opinions, and if you guys would like to plug in scriptures, I love when you guys do that. Plug in scriptures or just some motivation, maybe from your own experience, your own testimonies, please do so to help your sister out in the comment section. So I'm going to jump right in. Many times, not all, because again, it's never one size fit all. Many times when you hear the call, and again, the call is not always you're going to pastor a church or be an usher. If that is your call, it is absolutely amazing. But me being called very different, very strategically, then I like to always make sure I plug that in, because a lot of people are not walking in purpose and calling because of conditioning of religion and things like that to tell them that God can only use you when you are sanctified, holy, holy, you're perfect, and you are walking around with a white sheet draped around you all day long, and you're just pure, and you're... Listen. Listen and be the most messiest. Okay, so anyway, if you're called and if you decide to answer the call, right? Because I mean, it's one thing to be called and it's one thing to answer the call. So if you decide to answer the call, then there's a chance, maybe even a good chance, that what you're doing now, or the people around you, the environments, maybe even your job, there's a chance that God may pull you from that or ask you to leave that. Now, make sure you are hearing from God before you leave any job, right? But when we're doing it our way, we created our lives before answering the call, right? Unless you involve God in that decision of when you first, I don't know, went to school, took a job, married someone, whatever you did, you created this wonderful life for yourself. Well, that may not be the life that God has for you. And it may be. It may be. This is the importance of being sure you heard from God. But if it's not, then he has to have you leave some of that stuff behind so you can start walking in the direction where he will use you for purpose and calling. So sometimes that can happen very subtly, meaning people kind of just start to fall off in the sense of there's no strife, but maybe there's just, you guys just growing apart, right? It's still love, but it's just like we have nothing else in common. Like, what are we doing? So it can be very subtle, or it can be situations where strife may take place. Not saying that God per se caused the strife, but he will use it for his good. So, I mean, there may be something that happens where someone cheated on the other one, and it's almost like, this can be a touchy topic, but just hear where I'm going here. Where someone cheated on the other and the one decided to leave, and whoever, and you know, or maybe you know now that is the person that God never really had designed for you. You married for the wrong reasons. Maybe children were involved. Maybe societal pressure. Maybe you had parents pushing you to say, hey, you got to give me grandkids and a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law by the age of 25, 30. So there can be different reasons And if you married the wrong person, you know. You know. I mean, there's just no question. You know, if you're connected, if you're spiritually connected, you know when you've married the wrong person. And that's why I turned down 2 engagements. But either which way, some people believe that, I've heard people say this, that if you marry the wrong person, that they believe that God can take and create it where it's, I don't know. I'm not God to even say that. But hopefully that's true. Or sometimes, listen, I know some people don't believe in divorce. Do what you do, get in where you fit in. But me up over here, honey, if I'm miserable, I got to go. Point blank, period. Period. So anyway, now God has decided to allow people to fall off in whatever way. But now your job is no longer fulfilling you. Right? At some point, you were extremely happy. You loved your job. You loved going to work. And then all of a sudden, it's just this feeling. It's a feeling of you're no longer fulfilled. It's almost like, I'm just only here for the paycheck. I don't even like it here anymore. And then things are changing. The vibe is changing. The energy is changing. It's just, So again, those are subtle ways. But then the not so subtle ways can be, you get fired. And now you are losing your mind because you've invested X amount of years in this job. When they called, you were there, right? You got retirement, you got this, you got that. And how in the world am I going to, feed my children? I have a whole family up over here and I don't even have a job. So those are the not so subtle ways that the flesh in you is going to fight against everything that's happening, because your flesh now is fearful. What am I going to do? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Like I'm 55. Nobody's going to hire me. X, Y, and Z. You're fighting against everything that God is trying to do. So now you're trying to get that job back. You're probably going in and trying to go over the boss's head. You're trying to go and plead your case. You're trying to do everything in the world to save this job or to make them take you back. And truly, God closed that door. One thing I've learned about God, when God closed the door, when God closed the door, child, please, ain't nothing happening. Ain't nothing happening. That door will not reopen unless he decides to reopen it. And I mean, So then, because our flesh is so ignited, it's hard for us to grasp the concept that maybe I had to lose this job because I had every conviction to leave a year ago. But I was too fearful because I don't know how I would provide for my family. So if I'm honest, I got some revelation like a year or so ago, but I ignored them. So he had to snatch the rug. He had to snatch the rug. Many times you will also be called to relocate. Of course, this is not for everyone, obviously. For different reasons. Again, you created your life where you are, where maybe your whole audience, to your assignment is completely someplace different. Also, you got people, you got your family, you got your friends, maybe your peers who you went to school with. Everybody still sees you as the quirky person in school, the this and that and this and that. So it's almost like they have a hard time respecting the new you. Or if God is calling you to start a business, it's almost like they're going to all want discounts. Where, honey, we were in 5th grade together. Like, I can't get half off. Or why do I have to pay? I'm your family member. So many times you will be called to relocate. When it comes down to relocating, when I was talking to this young lady, that's one of her biggest fears right there. Because she feels like, well, what if I didn't hear from God? What if I missed the mark? What if I get to this place and there's no fruit there? I don't even have a job. Right? She does say her family is pretty toxic. I mean, not like to the point of some crazy families, but crazy enough where they're pulling at each other and things like that. Here's the thing. Here's what I've learned. And I mean, maybe it's just my obedience game again that's so on fleek. Sometimes God will not even move and show you things until you take a step. So it's almost like we want to sit back and be like, well, I'll wait till God knock on the front door and say, hey, I'm God, take the step. And so we're holding ourselves back because we're waiting for just this boom, this moment to say, hey, pick up and relocate. Walking by faith is walking by faith. So sometimes when you move, that's when God will get behind you. So we're trying to, even if he's calling you to relocate, you want to see the promise or the destiny in its entirety. Meaning, if God is asking you to relocate or to do something or start something, you want to see the whole picture. And my God, was that me? I mean, I know completely better now. But you want to see what he is going to manifest in the sense of the journey. So you want to skip the journey per se and see destiny. But the journey is a journey for a reason. So God will show you bits and pieces and bits and pieces. So you have to move along when he's giving you bits and pieces, bits and pieces. It is truly, truly, truly a faith walk. It really is a faith walk. And you will come into delays because, again, it's bits and pieces. So when these delays happen, we tend to think that we didn't hear from God. Because now you're 5 months of just sitting in a quiet season and it's like, this can't be God. I'm going back. But then he will always give you confirmation through whatever source, through a dream, through a person, through just peace in your spirit. He will always give you confirmation and say, hey, I know you're thinking about going back. I know you're thinking about quitting. So let me give you something really quickly to keep your butt still and let you know, no, you didn't make a mistake. Last week, I was reading in the comment section, someone had wrote, it was a young lady, not on my recordings. I can't remember how she worded it, but basically she was saying that she's a dreamer. So God would give her dreams that she would work with children. And I believe she loves children from my understanding. And then something happened where she went to maybe apply for a job or something like that, and it didn't happen, or she wasn't fulfilled or whatever. And then she got another download from God, I believe through a dream, to go to medical school, nursing school. So then she became a nurse. But she said she hated the process of becoming a nurse. She just doesn't feel like that's her thing. So she was like, she's confused. It doesn't make sense. She's just over it. So then I comment and I told her the same thing I'm saying now about bits and pieces. God will give you bits and pieces and it may not make sense. So yes, he may have given you a dream about children 5 years ago, then turn right back around and tell you, hey, go to nursing school. You're not even seeing how the two can combine. Why am I going to nursing school if you told me I would be working with children? Well, listen, if you're connected, you know things are going to be getting bad soon. So maybe, just maybe, he is positioning you and preparing you for how he's going to use you in the next seasons or seasons to come. That's not going to be, pie. So maybe he will have you working with children. Maybe you will be going around to orphanage and helping children. Maybe he's going to station you in certain areas that's going to require you to have a medical license to work with these children. So you're seeing them as separate things. I had a dream about children, a dream about medical school. I really never wanted to do either. So how does this make sense? Well, because it's not for you Purpose is not about you. Purpose is for how God wants to use you. So, I mean, he may need you to work with some children from a medical standpoint when things really, really get crazy. So it doesn't all make sense. It's bits and pieces. And that's where we get so confused and we're ready to give up because it doesn't make sense. Of course, again, we all hear from God differently. Some people hear from, I have a friend. She's a dreamer. I really don't dream in general. I have a dream every blue moon, but I'm definitely the person who just, that unction, you just know. You know what you know. You just feel it. It's a feeling that you can't even describe. It's peace. There's a peace. And then also I'm a visionary. So there are more than one way you can hear from God. So please don't have people thinking that you can only hear from God through scripture or you can just hear from God, because I don't hear from God through scripture. Maybe he will develop that the more and more I'm starting to learn the scriptures and learn and understand the Bible. But there's different ways that you hear from God. This is why it's crucial for you to be sure that you allow God to develop your hearing, because the same scenario, she thinks she's heard from God, and now she got people, right, who should really be our confirmation of anything, telling her the complete opposite, and now she's sitting here confused. Was it God? Was it not God? Well, this person said that, God would never tell me that because it's not this and that. This person said, well, that couldn't be God because when I was in that situation, God didn't do that for me. And you're all over the place. If you are confused, if you've heard from God or not, please get to the point that works for you in the sense of how you hear spiritually. Let that be fasting, meditating, walking in nature, whatever it is for you. Make sure your revelation is coming from God. When that revelation comes from God, you got to lock that thing in. Don't let anybody change that. You just hold on to what you believe God has said. And then God will send people without you asking to confirm what he's told you. The same way he will send someone to confirm to you when you think you've made a wrong decision. You're sitting here in a whole nother country and you're like, well, there's delays. There's no way I could have heard from God. I'm going back to my country. And then he will randomly send somebody to you, sometimes a complete stranger, to speak something to you. And you know without a doubt that was God. So when he's giving you something, an answer, a vision, or whatever, make sure you are solid on getting your revelation from him and allowing people to be your confirmation, and let him send the people. And of course, if you got one or two people that you really know who's tapped in like that, then, ask them to pray on it or pray for you or with you or whatever, right? I know I definitely got that 1-2 solid people when I'm and then one of them even missed it. And one was completely on cue to what God has said. So you got to be careful. I mean, it's not easy, but the key is cutting off a lot of distractions. Here's another thing. I'm laughing because you talking about guilty of this? We want to get 15,000 signs. God gave you a revelation. He said, okay, I want you to relocate. And you were all excited. Yes, okay. I would love to relocate. I would love to go and network with other people and get this ministry off the ground and blase, 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 blase. So now you're all excited. And by the next day, you're like, what's that, God? God, can you give me a sign? But he gives you a sign. He'll send somebody. He'll drop something in your spirit, whatever. He gives you a sign to let you know, hey, yep, that was me. And then what do? A couple of days later, you should be packing, but you're saying, God, can you give me one more sign? We want like 1,000 signs. But what I've grown to realize, and actually happened to me yesterday, I'll explain. Sometimes the sign is not going to be explosive. We want this big explosive sign. God, can you give me a sign? So you're walking in at nighttime and you're looking for the stars to just make a face of God or something. I don't know. You want this big sign. Sometimes that sign is just a peace, a knowing. Nothing in your spirit is agitated. It's a peace. So if God is asking you to do something, or to asking you to do something, or go somewhere, or start something, if there's a peace with the revelation, then many times that is God. Now, not to get confused with this, because this word can get very tricky. Once he gives you the peace on what he wants you to do or start or go, then yes, warfare can spike up because the enemy doesn't want you to make that move. So what happens is then warfare starts, and then you want to feel like, well, no, that can't be God because it's not peaceful any longer. No. When he gave you the answer, when he gave you the download, the revelation, it was peaceful. But the enemy knows what you're about to do. He knows the life you're going to affect, so he's going to challenge that. So I always say, my personal opinion, go back to the first download. Before you got too many people in your ear, before you're asking for 50,000 signs, go back to the first download. Even if it was from years ago. How did you feel during that time? Before the warfare happened and started, and the delays and the frustration. How did you feel when he gave you that first download? It's a peace. So, lastly, these seasons are so shifty. These seasons are so shifty. Like you can be in a season of isolation, and just tomorrow you end up in a season of work, right? You're just moving, building, and then you get thrown back into isolation because maybe there's something else God needs you to get, right? Something else about what's coming. So you get put back into isolation season for, not long per se, but until you get whatever the lesson is he wants to give you. Then you up out of isolation season, and now you're in the season of giving and planting seeds solely. And you're like, well, I thought I'd just been in this season 3 months ago, and now I'm back here. Where there's reasons. So it's not like the whole overall transformation, meaning when he pulled you from you. But there's things that also still have to be prepared. You still have to know certain things for certain seasons. Like, I remember maybe a couple of months ago, I got called on a fast, 3-day water only. And you guys know how, like, when you hear the download for a fast and you act like you don't want to hear it, or you didn't hear it. But either which way, when I got finished with this fast, my God, I thank God I did it because of the things that I received. And I was like, ooh, I don't get them back-to-back calls for fasting, so I'm going to celebrate. I'm off of this 3-day water only fast. Please. Please. A week later, calls to fast again. But for something completely different, even a different kind of fast. But I'm just like, God, I just came off of a fast. I thought I had all the revelation. He's like, yeah, with that thing, I got something else coming, and I need you to catch these details before I release it. So you see how shifty it can be? So again, a lot of people want to give up because it's almost like you want to see the thing in its entirety before you make the first step. I used to get so annoyed with that because, God told me very, very young that I would be a speaker. and that I would be parts of public figures and celebrities and things like that. He told me that early on. So when I first had my very first conference, I was so annoyed that there were only 20 people. And then one of my great friends, again, her name is Kizzy as well. She would get so annoyed with me. She was like, Kizzy, this is your first conference and you got 20 people. Do you know it takes people 20 years to get 20 people? I was so annoyed because I'm like, Kizzy, but that's not what I see. I see me on stage, and I don't even want it. It's just what God is showing me. I see me on stage. I see me talking to crowds and crowds of people. So at the time, I was seeing destiny. I was seeing the vision in its entirety without understanding that there's a super long process that comes with this thing, sometimes extremely tedious. But my obedience, my faith, my fearlessness at times, I don't question God. When God says move one direction, I move. And each and every time, even when it didn't make sense, I move. Even when I couldn't even explain it in words, what in the world are you doing now? I don't know. I'm just moving because God says move. Each and every single time, it made complete sense after the fact. And it's like a notch up on the belt each time. So it's truly a journey. It's truly a journey. But if God is telling you to move, you got to move. You just got to have that knowing in your spirit. If God is calling you to move, you have to move, especially in these times right now. If God is calling you someplace right now, you need to get there, and you need to get there fast. Because let me tell you something, things are going to get really, really serious. And a lot of people right now are clueless because social media got them so captivated with all this nonsense that's going on. If you're tapped in spiritually, things are about to get rough. So we need to be getting prepared. So if God is calling you, there is a reason, there is a purpose. Is he calling you to the country to start a farm? If he is, that farm ain't just for you and your family. You're going to be feeding some people. You're going to be feeding some people. If he's giving you major finance increases right now, that ain't for you to go buy no Bentley. He's setting you up because he's going to use you in a large way. Again, purpose is not about us. That's flesh and that's selfish thinking. Purpose is not about us. God is not going to be giving you massive amounts of overflow just for you to sit on it. God is giving to people that he can trust. If he says move, they're going to move. If he says go and take care of this family, they're going to do it. If there's a food supply shortage, he's been in your ear and told you to stock up for a whole year because he knows that there's other people, not just you and your little greedy family. Just not you and your little greedy family, right? He may have you as a free grocery store. Like, I'm telling you, this thing is deep. You just got to move when he says move. All right. So let me tell you what happened yesterday. I was in the store and it's a lady. I think she's in her 60s. I typically see her when I go to the store. Beautiful spirit. And maybe about 6 months ago, she gave me a sheet of paper. You know, like how the journals have like a word for every day. Well, she tore out and gave me whatever the word was for that day on the journal. And I mean, I needed it that day. And so the store where I first met her at, the store had closed down maybe about 3 months ago. So I didn't even know that they transferred her to this particular store I saw her in on yesterday. So when I saw her, we hugged and we kind of caught up or whatever. So she was just telling me, you know, she had to transfer to this new store because of course the other store closed down. This store is like 45 minutes from her house. Her dad has Alzheimer's, so she was putting in applications to Publix in Harris Teeter, I believe. That is much closer to her house. So she was going through it, but she's a believer, so she wasn't even saying it like in a sad way. She was just saying like, listen, I trust God because God had never left my side. I don't know if I'm coming or going, but I trust God. So that's the type of energy that she has. So as she was talking to me, my spirit kept saying, bless her. The same way she blessed you when she gave you that scripture some months ago when you was having doubts if you made the right decision or not, that confirmed for you. I want you to bless her for she can see me in this. And again, listen, my obedience game is on fleek. But then there's sometimes I have to question like, what? Okay, God, I'm a little distracted right now. I'm in a store where there's, a lot of energy going on. Like, please let me know if I'm hearing from you. If you say bless her, I will bless her. For one, this lady is, I think she said she's 65. Beautiful white lady. Not that matters, but I'm just saying, beautiful white lady, gray hair. When I say beautiful in the sense of you see God just all through her, right? So as she's telling me all this stuff that she's dealing with, health, all that stuff, you can still see that she haven't given up hope on God. She's just going through it. So I'm walking around the store, but I don't feel like I'm tapped in enough because, again, I need to be alone when I'm getting downloads and it's just too much energy going on. I said, God, please give me one last sign. One last sign. He already gave me like 3 signs at this point. Like, because what he was asking me to give her was not a little bit of money, right? So I can't. Okay, God, one last sign. One last sign. When I tell you, I could barely stand. The spirit took over my body that the stuff I had in my hand just dropped. It dropped. It almost was like God saying, all right, you want a sign? I'm going to give you a sign because this is how bad I need you to do this thing. Boom. Spirit just took over me completely. I had to hold on to the darn shelf. I was like, wait a minute. Woo! I hear you. Okay. Thank you for the sign. I got you. So anyway, I went back outside in my truck. And crazy thing about it is this. I had an unction to stop to the teller that day. Again, I typically always like to keep cash on me because sometimes, the homeless people or whatever, you can just stop and give them a couple of dollars or whatever. But yesterday, for some reason, God told me to take a certain amount out that was not the normal amount. And the whole time, it was because he knew he would allow me to run into this lady who I had not seen since months and months and months ago. So I went to the truck. So I got that money. I put it in the envelope. I took the envelope and I put the envelope in my book because I didn't want to just hand her money at a register, right? She's working at a cash register. But when I went back into the store, guess who was at the register? She was in the corner by herself, picking up, like the clothes that the customer just leave down, hanging up clothes, things like that. So I went to the corner where she was and she looked at me. She said, hey, she said, did I forget something in your bag or something like that? I said, no, but do you mind if I talk to you? I said, listen, remember you was telling me earlier about your dad, about your car giving you issues because you're driving that 45-minute ride and how you're switching jobs because your dad now have Alzheimer's and you want to be closer to home because they're sneaking out the house and X, Y, and Z. And you got to work, even though the ladies, first of all, 65 is young, but you can tell knees and all that stuff is aching, but she has to work, right? She needs her insurance, things like that. I said, you told me that you're about to leave this job and you're waiting on Publix or Harris here to call you because it's closer to home, even though you'll be taking a pay cut. I think she said she was making $13 an hour. Mind you, now this is not an easy job. You're on your feet, you're hanging up clothes all day, all that nonsense. She's going to take a cut from $13 an hour to $10 at the grocery store because it's still closer to home. I said, I went outside because when I was in here, after speaking with you, I got a nudge and I want to bless you. I said, remember when you gave me that journal topic thing? She's like, yeah, I remember. I said, that blessed my spirit because I was in a place where I didn't know if I should stay or if I should go, if I should stay. And I said, when you gave it to me, God used you to confirm to me that I was on the right path and I needed to stay exactly where I was. I said, so you showed me God in that moment. And now I want to show you God in return. I gave her the envelope. And when she opened that envelope, she literally had to hold on to me because she almost fell. And here's what she kept saying over and over through her tears. And she still, I don't even want to know, but she didn't even reveal it to me. But she kept saying, you just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. And then she briefly started, and then she said she had literally went to, what do you call the thing where you cash coins in? Coin stars or something like that. It's inside the grocery stores. She said she had went to Coin Star that moment and cashed in some pennies and dimes before she could get gas to get to work. So she got to work, but she didn't even know how she was going to get home because her gas is low. So she was just waiting on God to move. And she had no idea that when God moves, mind you, when God moves big. And then she started to go on and tell more of the story, and then she stopped, right? Because it obviously was something more private. She just kept saying, you just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. And she just kept saying, you just don't know. But the way she was saying it, it was like, and so after we talked, and I told her, I said, thank you for confirming to me on why I always tell people obedience is crucial. Because if God is telling you to move, and I didn't want to go back in that store. I mean, I already had like 35 bags I'm loading in my truck. I was like, God, can't do it tomorrow. No, go do it. Obedience is key because somebody's blessing or breakthrough is waiting on you. You don't know what God has to do in that moment. You don't know what that person has going on at that very second. Obedience is key. So I wanted to share that. Because a lot of people don't move and they kind of drag their feet with obedience because they kind of just feel like, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I can be, if I'm honest and transparent here, I can be a procrastinator at times with certain things. Meaning my personal life. But with obedience, I don't play with that. When God can trust you, God will always send you overflow because he knows he can have you move a certain way, bless a certain person, and he know you will do it. And you will do it when he asks you to. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.